I've got a top 10 paranormal ghost reaction to release. It's already in the bank, but I'm going to postpone it until tomorrow, okay? Because I keep on getting bombarded with this podcast with Terrence Howard over on the Joe Rogan show, okay? Joe Rogan's podcast. Now, despite what you think about Joe Rogan, apparently, like, some people hate him. I don't know why. I'm not interested why. I'm just interested in this topic because apparently it's just going, like I say, it's going crazy, all right? One thing that made my ears prick up was because apparently Terrence Howard talks about propulsion, all right? UAP propulsion, more specifically. And we've mentioned that so many times on this channel about how UFOs move so quickly and all that sort of stuff. And apparently he explained, or his theory of what it is. Now, I obviously know this guy from movies and stuff, but apparently, I've seen snippets of this, and mate, I'm telling you, it's blowing people's minds. And I've looked at a lot of the comments, and it seems like people are just listening in awe and not quite understanding, but in the same respect, understanding. You know, I don't think they're understanding the science, but because he's explaining it in a particular way, they're sort of like getting a gist of what he's talking about. Basically, this guy, I think, has had some sort of dreams when he was younger, and he used to go into this temple, and in this temple was all of these ideas explained to him, and now he's created 97 patents for different ideas and designs and things like that. It's absolutely incredible. So this is going to be a little bit of a freestyle, because like I say, I've got a whole bunch of different video clips. I mean, the whole podcast goes on for like 3 hours, 10 minutes. So I'm going to show you some of the highlights. I've not watched all of them. I watched some of, and they're just mind-boggling, okay? I don't think there's going to be much talking, because I don't think I'm going to be able to comment much on what he's saying. But I think it's going to be a good eye-opener. The other reason why I want to show you this as well is because I think, especially in this day and age, so many people are trying to find other answers, right? And maybe questioning the things that were previously taught. Because I think there's a big feeling nowadays of just distrust, okay? What can you believe? What can't you believe? Can you believe all the things that you've been taught? Is the history books correct? All these sort of things, all right? And so this, again, like, questions a lot of it. So anyway, let's have a little look at this one first. I want to show you this one about the periodic table, mainly because I think it explains a lot of the other things that he's going to be talking about. So let's start with this one, okay?
When you say rebuild the periodic table, what do you mean specifically?
Well, the way the periodic table is laid out, the periodic table they have now,
Let's see.
it looks like a box. It looks like a straight box.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't show that hydrogen has the same tone as carbon.
What do you mean by tone?
Same tone, same key of E. Same key of E, 40.5 hertz. The next one would be like 81 hertz. You go to silicon, it will double up and would be 162 hertz. You'll go to cobalt and it'll be 324 hertz. It's take the angles of incidence or the tones that they create, you know, their color. Like you can turn color back into sound based upon, it's the same wavelength, it's just twice as long or much longer. So all you have to do is keep dividing light by 2. You keep dividing light by 2, and you'll ultimately get back to the audible sound of it, because there was a relationship between light and color, sound and tone, matter and shape. Walter Russell's periodic table that he put together. Now you compare that to Mendeleev's periodic table, and you'll see something completely different. It's unwinding.
Whoa.
And you see there's a relationship that hydrogen...
So you had figured this out at a young age?
I had already seen this. This was all inside of that palace. I had access.
That palace he's talking about is a dream that he had when he was very, very young. whatever had happened, like in his dreams, whatever would have happened in his dream, he would always run back to this palace, this temple type thing, and see these images and ideas.
That's to it. And I knew the
So you
relationship.
saw this in dreams.
I saw it as a circle. Everything was a full circle laid out, and each area was just expanding, like wrapping a rag around your hand. The first wrap, it's so tight. This is how I saw it more so, but as a vortex, you'll see there's a relationship between hydrogen, carbon, silicon, cobalt, rhodium. They're all bonded. They're all sit as the middle point between two noble gases. So those things don't really exist. It's only one substance. Now, the problem is the first thing that we're able to perceive is hydrogen. That's the first visible element, because before it is too dense for us to perceive it. You understand what I'm saying? As you reach into the next octave, the carbon octave, and they call that a bisexual tone, because the carbon has two tones to it. It has a negative side and a positive side. The part where lithium behaves, lithium is contractive, beryllium is contractive. Boron is contractive, but the moment you get to carbon, you balance it out. Gets to a perfect balance of plus and minus 4. So it's a double tone. Nitrogen is -3, oxygen is -2, fluorine is -1. Now the balance of this, all of those are mates. Fluorine and lithium naturally mate. If you have lithium bonded with any other element, the moment that fluorine is introduced, it will break all bonds violently so it can bond with fluorine. Same thing with beryllium and oxygen. That's why it said, and what they've tried to keep from us, if you want to break water into its component parts of hydrogen and oxygen, all you have to do is introduce beryllium or the sound of beryllium.
Or the sound of beryllium. And he goes on about sound in a bit as well, which is, again, just absolutely mind-blowing.
Oxygen will violently break away from any other thing, even hydrogen, to bond with that beryllium.
That is brilliant. Right, okay. This is what I'm saying, like, I don't understand, but in the same respect, I do understand. He's talking about positives and negatives and balancing, and I think that's basically the general consensus throughout the whole thing. And like I say, I've seen snippets, but he talks about the balance a lot, positive and negative. So I want to see the one where he talks about the UAP and how it travels. Okay, because this is really interesting. Listen to this.
One of the things about this whole back engineering thing that you keep hearing about with UAPs, gravity propulsion systems. This is what Bob Lazar talked about. And what he's saying is that there's some sort of stable element that gets bombarded with electricity and it creates this gravity wave.
You can just, like with music, use a discordant tone, and those tones will push away. There's a particular tone that the Earth is on, the key of A. It's 432 hertz, the Schumann resonance. All you have to do is have the opposite tone to that, and it will be pushed away. The same way a bubble at the bottom of the ocean doesn't use any energy to get to the top. But because it's completely in opposition to its environment, the environment pushes it away. That's what you do if you're an intelligent race.
That would be the method of propulsion.
Method of propulsion, and also decoupling.
And so it wouldn't show visible means of propulsion. Just like these UAPs don't show visible means of propulsion. They don't have a heat signature.
No.
So they'd be operating on something entirely different that's allowing it to propel. And then you could figure out how to manipulate that how.
Take the frequency of the Earth and find out what's the equal and opposite tone to it.
And how fast could this thing go?
You decouple from the Earth, you move at, what's the Earth moving? At 1,000 miles an hour. How quickly is our solar system spinning? Whatever that tone, whatever that frequency is, whatever that speed is, you decouple from the solar system. Now the solar system moves away from you.
In that sense, you could move at insane speeds and not experience G-force.
No, nothing whatsoever. And that's what the linchpin or the angles of incidence allows, because now we can decouple from these 6 relative positions.
So when we feel G-force, like when you're have you ever flown in a fighter jet before?
Yeah.
You feel those insane G-forces. Like, what that is the resistance of the Earth itself.
of the Earth,
of the spin of the Earth itself,
of our centripetal place where we are with the. Remember, the Earth is spinning. The solar system is spinning and acting a force. The galaxy is spinning and acting on it,
So
and
there's
now the
all
planet
these forces
force is
pushing
pushing
down.
in. So if you decouple from them,
then you have no force pushing you through, and you can essentially travel instantaneously to anywhere if you have the right frequency.
the right frequency, it's all frequency.
Mate, it does sound so simple though, right? And it reminds me of, I saw this TikTok video of this guy, and he had this like handle, and he had like little mini speakers. All right, it was like funneled around, and then he got like a pea of some sort, a bit of a popcorn, and and you couldn't hear anything, but he pushed a button, and obviously sound was going through these speakers, and he dropped the popcorn, and it was just hovering there, right? And then he increased the frequency or something, and then this thing just lifted up and down, and that it was crazy. So that's the sort of thing that they're talking about, right? I guess. Man, okay. This is what I'm saying, man. This is really interesting.
You want to know what my first patent was? The entire AR, VR world was built off of my first patent that was abandoned. If you would pull up my World of Windows patent, I think...
The AR and VR world? What, like, what's his name? Lucky. He made the first virtual reality, right? I thought he'd started it.
It's one of the first patents up there. I want you to see where your AR, VR world came from. And you look at the list of companies that has cited, and didn't just cite it, they built their entire AR, VR world off of my World of Windows patent. Can you pull that up, Jamie? So you go look over to, you'll see my name, inventor, Terrance Howard. Worldwide application, and let's just read the abstract just so they'll...
System and method for merging virtual reality and reality. Scroll it so I can see it. To provide an enhanced sensory experience. A system and method of merging virtual reality sensory detail from a remote site into a room environment at a local site.
Now you see...
This is all
I'm
you?
sorry. Okay. So this is AR mixed with, like, mixed reality.
Look at the inventor. Go up a little bit and slide over. It says Terrance Howard.
Yeah.
Worldwide patent.
2010.
2010. It was abandoned. Now go to cited by. You see that 131? And look at all the companies. And if you look at the patent, these companies have all earned, they have multi-billion-dollar companies they've built off of my patent. Just roll through.
Sony, Microsoft, Amazon.
So can he sue them?
On
Hewlett Packard.
Yeah.
Keep going. IBM,
crazy.
and it's still making money. This patent has earned over $7 trillion.
And you didn't get a piece.
And I haven't gotten a penny of it. When they did all of the Black Lives Matter, like Raytheon Company. And IBM, if you...
Crazy.
And it still has another 9 years. Another 8 years in which I would be making money off it. But what they didn't know is they didn't understand is how it was really supposed to work. So they've just been taking this gun and been using it as a bat. And if they wanted to know, I could show them how it really, really works. But this is proof that my stuff is legit.
Like, apparently he's got 97 patents.
Everything is just one great being. We're all God. That's what Jesus was talking about. That's what Buddha was talking about. It's recognizing the divinity in you. What I did as a child, I said, I'm going to, instead of waiting for the Messiah to show up, what if everybody picked up their torture stake and behaved and did the things that they had expected the Messiah to do? What if everybody just for one day walked around and behaved as if they were God himself and did the things that they would expect the Creator? And we know God can't just be a male because no man can produce a child without a female. Everything in the universe, as above, so below, like Billy Carson always talks about. You can't, everything has an equal and opposite. It has to mate. Mating is a big part of what we do. The the boron mates with nitrogen, and that's how the carbon happens. Everything inside of us, all our cells, they're mating. There's a relationship going on in it. Everything's alive.
Wow.
There is no death, but that the Bible talked about a mechanistic world. God took dirt and blew into it the breath of life, and it came to life. But if you look at the Brownian effect, what is breathing? Going from positive to negative. And they see all these, even the plastic that makes these things up are still going from, it's still carbon, polarizing from positive to negative. Breathing in, breathing out. It's just under a different state of matter, but there is no death. There's no death. Everything's eternal. And once we get rid of the idea, okay, you're going to die and disappear,
Wow, man. Jeez. I think I might have to watch the full thing, man, because this is so interesting. It's 3 hours and 10 minutes, mate, the full thing. What's this one here?
Mile equals 63,360 inches. So the number of years that it will take for the Earth to move 1 mile is 105,600 years. So that in order for the Earth to reach where we are at 93 million miles, it would take 9,820,800,000,000 years for the Earth to get here. Likewise, Mars, at 147 million miles away from the sun, it would take 15,780,480,000,000 years for Mars to get where it was. So at a given point, Mars was here in the Goldilocks zone. And
so, yeah, okay. That's what I've been saying all along, sort of. That Mars must have been the Earth, and we've traveled back and forth between it. So he's saying that basically, if this is the sun, Mars, the Earth and Mars was probably in a different area, and it's basically swapped. And now Earth has just grown like civilization. And then Mars has just drifted away. Oh, what?
Now Venus is going to inherit the Goldilocks zone next. The sun will give, Mercury is under a higher pressure because they're still under the mistake thinking that there's a void in space. So they forget that Mercury is under the highest pressure possible. So it can expand. It's like hydrogen. It's like those octaves before hydrogen. So the atmosphere, the iron isn't able to release any oxygen and the oxides. But when you get to 67 million miles away from the sun, the pressure is a little less, but it's still so much higher than the pressure on Earth. It's like going deep into the very belly of the Earth. That pressure is so very high. And so now the clouds, there's a great deal of sulfur, there's a great deal of ammonia and all of those things in it. But once Earth moves to where Mars is, Venus is going to slowly move and will be right here. In maybe 5 or 6 trillion years, Venus will be right here, and humanoids will appear again and unwind the same way. And that asteroid belt that we have right now between Mars and Jupiter, that used to be a planet. And I believe that they had humanoids that developed on there, the same way that everything, that's the periodic table. They call it the periodic table because these things happen according to periodicity. They happen under regular events. You change the motion and pressure conditions, the crystallization changes. We call it a different element, but it's the same substance. Like my hand is one substance, but if I do it like this and do it like this and do it like this, it looks like a whole different thing. And they can call it a different element, but it's the same element under different motion and pressure conditions. I believe that Sirius used to be a planet when it was here, and the humanoids on there didn't recognize that we don't have a solid core. Everything expands as a sphere, and no sphere in our universe, no bubble has a solid core. We're perceiving it as a solid core, but there is not a solid core there. There's just a bubble. And at CERN, that Hadron Collider, that particle accelerator, I believe they did the same thing and they popped their planet.
Oh, shit. Imagine that, mate. Oh, my God. Oh. They popped their planet. Hence the ring.
And it became that asteroid belt.
Oh, that's horrifying, man. Oh, my God.
Through space, and
It's inanimate.
collects via gravity, and the more mass, the more gravity.
It's supposed to, but look at take a balloon. Another thing that kills gravity. Gravity is supposed to be the greater the mass is the greater the attractor. You take a balloon, you rub it on your leg, you put it over the ground. Watch the dust particles jump off the ground, off this big mass called the Earth, and jump onto that balloon. Because why? Electricity is 137 times stronger than the pull of gravity or the effects of the so-called gravity. It's the electric force that's the attractive force. It's the electric force that tightens everything together as the masculine, and then the dividing force is the radiative force, the magnetic field. It ablates and pushes everything out, and then they collect together again. But where these things meet, at the proper angles of incidence, like the Birkeland currents talked about, those plasma currents talked about, those angles of incidence is at 120 degrees when it converts it back into electricity, and it will keep collecting and coming and making life. The planet isn't a dead thing. It didn't just happen to come together. That's just the process by which it was given life. It's alive.
Mate, like, man, this is crazy. This is crazy. What's this one?
There's no government on this planet that has the technology that I have or can outdo what I have, because you can't outdo the fractal. We're the only creatures in the known universe that uses currency. Take the square root of 2, 1.414213562373095. You cube it, it's 2.828427121746190. Divide it by 2, it gets back to 1.414. Cube it again, it's back to 2.828. Divide it by 2, back to 1.414. That's a loop. That's x cubed being equal to 2x, which is equal to x plus x. That's an unnatural equation.
What the fuck? Mate, this dude is like Tony Stark. I've seen that actually on titles. This is the Tony Stark. What? What? What's this one here?
You see the 5 platonic solids. Now these, all of our axioms, all of our postulates have been built off of these things. This is what Euclid went down to Egypt and pulled these things together. Pythagoras worked on them. And these were the undisputed fundamentals of God that he used to build. If you tap onto the Flower of Life, Platonic Solids things, it's going to take you to a video. Turn it, don't have to tap it. But it'll show you the Flower of Life that they took this from. But you'll see that instead of following the natural curvature of these 64 circles overlapping, they averaged the space where they met. And they invented straight lines.
Why did they do that?
Because they believed that the world was flat. They believed the world was flat at the time. And the church promoted. Pythagorean theorem comes off of this cube, a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
So they wanted to use all of these intertwining circles and create straight lines.
Because that's how they thought everything came down to, straight lines. They thought the world was flat. And I was like, oh my goodness. They didn't open the flower properly.
Right, okay. I think I might have, right, whether this is real, not real, whether he's right or wrong, it's still extremely interesting. And I have a feeling, I just want to watch the whole thing. So, I might live stream this bad boy. Honestly, I might live stream this, because this is mental. I might do a live stream reaction. Let me know if you want me to watch the whole thing. I have to find out whether I can or not. But it's so interesting that it's very strange how this Hollywood actor. But let's be honest. I mean, he might be some people's favorite actor of all time. I've seen him in films. I can't think of him as being a good actor or bad actor. I just know of him. Do you know what I mean? Okay, last one, because I'm just falling into this now. Like, this is the last one.
And every quantum mechanics and quantum physics equation has that square root of 2 in there. We've been living in this lie, this fostered lie, for so long.
And what's the solution to that?
The solution is learning how to multiply volumetrically, how the universe multiplies. And I've already produced all of these things.
Could you explain that, though, to the layperson? How does the universe multiply volumetrically as opposed to the way...
It does not move, does it linearly. It does not walk on. All of our math is based upon a two-dimensional projection. What they do in calculus, they will reduce the action of all things. They'll keep trying to reduce it down to one moment because they believe Newton's first law that everything moves in a straight line, or everything is still until acted upon. They forget that everything is in motion, and that concert of motion is a necessity. They have to include all the other forces involved in order to have equanimity in their equations.
And so how, in a practical sense, does this affect mathematics?
Well, once we let go of Cartesian space and the 90-degree angles, well, picture this. Let's take another practical place. Look at a computer chip. It has all of these 90-degree turns on it, typically, where they run the electricity. Can you imagine running at 186,624 miles a second in one direction, and you hit a wall, and you've got to stop, bounce off of that wall, and then you pick up your speed and you bounce off the next wall, and you bounce off the next and the next and the next and the next. How much heat are you building up? How much friction is being built up from the interference in comparison to if it was just spherical, just going around? It would build up no heat.
Amazing. Thanks for sending me these links, guys. I am thinking about maybe live streaming the whole thing, just for us to sort of sit there and watch together and talk about it. Anyway, what do you reckon to that? All right. If you've got any other clips, let me know, all right? If you ain't got any other clips that you think is actually like I need to hear, I need to see, please let me know, man. Send me it over on Twitter. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.